Hi, this is my lesson presentation for story structures. This is our story map. Certain parts of stories are almost always there. These parts are called story structure elements. Using a story map when listening or reading stories will help you help you to focus on story elements and to understand and remember the story better. The setting, which is here. This box is where you print the story setting, and the setting of the story is when and where a story takes place. This box is for characters. This box is where you print the names of the characters, and characters are people who the story is about or who might be in the story. This is the plot, this whole area here. The plot tells what happened and gives the story a beginning, middle, and an end. This bracket indicates that the plot has 3 parts: a problem, a sequence of events, and an outcome. The problem box, this is where you print the character's problem. The main character in a story always has a problem or something that they want to do. The problem is usually presented at the beginning and continues throughout the middle of the story. This box is for the sequence of events. This box is where you print the sequence of events. These are the things that happen as the character attempts to solve the problem, and they usually happen in the middle of the story. This last box is the outcome, and this is how the story turns out. The outcome is always at the end of the story, almost always. This last box is the theme. This is where you can print the theme. The theme of a story is a message that the author wants the reader to take away from the reading of the story. It is the lesson or observation the story is intended to teach. Identifying a theme is like digging for treasure. Sometimes the theme is discovered easily and other times it is not. After we read the story, we will learn more about identifying the theme. So this is the story we're going to read today. It's called Tacky the Penguin. Before we read, I'm going to share a little bit about the story. Tacky is a silly penguin who does not fit in with his companions. They usually find his silliness annoying until Tacky saves the day. All right. So we are going to learn about the story structure and story questions, which are here, and use them as a guide when filling out our boxes on the story map. Together we are going to read Tacky the Penguin and fill in the story map. I will model asking questions and filling in the story map, and you will record information on your own in your story maps. Let's start by reading the title of the story. Tacky the Penguin. So now we know the title of the story is Tacky the Penguin. We can print the title on our story maps right here under title, Tacky the Penguin. As you read the story, you will be looking for setting, characters, and plot. These story elements won't necessarily appear in order, so you might have to be on the lookout. The plot includes the problem, sequence of events, and outcome. All right. Who is the story about? The title says Tacky the Penguin, so we can assume that the story is about Tacky, who is one of our characters. So we can write Tacky in the character box on our story map. All right, so let's start reading. Tacky the Penguin by Helen Lester. There once lived a penguin. His home was a nice icy land, and he shared with his companions. His companions were named Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect. His name was Tacky. Tacky was an odd bird. So we have more characters that we found in the story, named Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect. We can write their names in the character box on our story map as well. All right. Every day, Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect greeted each other quietly and politely. Tacky greeted them with a hearty slap on the back and a loud, "What's happening?" So here we can also see where the setting of the story takes place. The setting is on an iceberg. And the author doesn't say when the story takes place, so we can leave that part out for now. But for now, you can write setting or iceberg under setting. All right. Goodly, lovely, angel, neatly, and perfect always marched. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tacky always marched. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 6, 0, 2.5, 0. His companions were very graceful divers. Tacky liked to do splashy cannonballs. That's not so graceful. Goodly, lovely, angel, neatly, and perfect always sang pretty songs like Sunrise on the Iceberg. Tacky always sang songs like How many toes does a fish have? Tacky was an odd bird. One day, the penguins heard the thump, thump, thump of feet in the distance. This could only mean one thing. Hunters had come. Oh no. They came with maps and traps and rocks and locks, and they were rough and tough. As the thump, thump, thump drew closer, the penguins could hear the growly voices chanting, We're gonna catch some penguins and we'll march 'em with a switch. And we'll sell 'em for $1 and get rich, rich, rich. Oh no. Now I think we have some information about the problem. What is the problem that Tacky and his companions face? The hunters are coming. The hunters are here. We can add this information on the story map, and I'm going to print Tacky's problem in the box labeled problem. So for problem, I wrote, Tacky and his companions run into some hunters who want to catch and sell them. All right, and you can write that in your own words too on your story map. All right, let's see what happens. This part of the story is going to start telling us about the things that happen for Tacky to try to solve his problems. Let's see what the first thing that happens is. Goodly, lovely, angel, neatly, and perfect ran away in fright. They hid behind a block of ice. Okay, that's the first thing that happens. Goodly, lovely, angel, neatly, and perfect run away and they hide behind ice. That's how they're going to try to solve their problem first. All right, let's see what the next thing they do. Tacky stood alone. The hunters marched right up to him, chanting, We're going to catch some pretty penguins, and we'll march them with a switch, and we'll sell them for $1 and get rich, rich, rich. But Tacky's just standing there. He's facing the hunters. What is he going to do? All right, the next thing that happens in our sequence of events, Tacky says, What's happening? Blared Tacky, giving one hunter an especially hearty slap on the back. They growled, We're hunting for penguins. That's what's happening. Okay. Penguins? Said Tacky. Do you mean those birds that march neatly in a row? And he marched 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 6, 0, 2.5, 0. The hunters looked puzzled. All right, so the next thing that's happening, Tacky looks like he's trying to trick the hunters. Do you mean those birds that dive so gracefully? Tacky asked. And then he did a splashy cannonball and the hunters looked wet. Do you mean those birds that sing such pretty songs? Tacky began to sing, and from behind the block of ice came the voices of his companions, all singing as loudly and dreadfully as they could. How many toes does a fish have, and how many wings on a cow? I wonder, yep, I wonder. So the next thing that's happening is all the penguins are tricking the hunters, and we can write that in our sequence of events on our story map. The hunters could not stand the horrible singing. This could not be the land of the pretty penguins. They ran away with their hands clasped tightly over their ears, leaving behind their maps and traps and rocks and locks and not looking rough and tough at all. They're running away. They're running away because this could not be where the penguins live. They successfully tricked the hunters, so the next thing that happens is they run away. Goodly, lovely, angel, neatly, and perfect hugged Tacky. Tacky was an odd bird, but a very nice bird to have around. All right. So the outcome of our story, we can put here. This paragraph is for the outcome. How does the story turn out? Does the character solve the problem? I think that Tacky did solve the problem. So I put the outcome was that hunters run away and the penguins are saved. Tacky saved the day. All right, so the last thing that we are going to fill out is the theme. The theme of our story. And the theme of our story can be kind of tricky to figure out. Do you remember when I said the theme can be like digging for treasure? Now I'm going to show you how to identify the theme for Tacky the Penguin by asking and answering 3 questions. All right, the first question is, was the outcome of the story good or bad? I think that the outcome of the story was good because Tacky saved the day and they did not get captured and sold for money. So I think that's a good outcome. Let's see, the next question. What lesson does the main character learn? To answer this question, I'm going to complete the following sentence. The main character learned that he or she should or shouldn't blank. Here's my complete sentence. The main character learned that Tacky, the main character, should always be himself. Okay, the next question is, what lesson did you learn from the story? To answer this question, I'm going to complete the following sentence. We should or shouldn't blank. Here is my complete sentence. We should be true to ourselves. All right, this story teaches us about being true to ourselves. You should always be true to yourself because good things can always come from it. In this case, Tacky saved the day by tricking those hunters into thinking he wasn't a penguin because he was sillier than most penguins are. All right. So when we think about the theme, it can also apply to other situations that can help us better understand and remember the theme. Today we learned about using a story map to show the parts of a story, and we learned how to identify the theme of the story, which is at the end. What's a theme? It's the lesson at the end of the story. All right. The theme of this book, Tacky the Penguin, was to always be yourself. A lot of stories can have the same or similar themes. Remember that the theme of a story is supposed to teach us a lesson. One good way to learn the lesson is to think about how it applies or connects to your own life. So if you wanted to share some experiences you've had with being yourself, I know that I have had experiences with being myself that have led me to great things. So you should always be yourself and good things will happen. And that's the theme of this story. Thanks.